My name is Claire Weston. I'm 41 years old, and most days I wake up feeling like a ghost in my own life. I didn't used to be this way. I used to laugh with my whole body, flirt with my husband just for the thrill of it, and wear red lipstick for no reason. Back then, I felt present, desired, alive. And not just because of anyone else, but because I knew who I was. Now, it's like I'm watching my own life from behind glass. And the hardest part is, no one really notices. Not even him. I've been married to Josh for 16 years. We were the couple people envied, college sweethearts who moved into a fixer-upper and built a life that, from the outside, looked steady. Secure. There were years it really was. I remember the way he used to touch my lower back when we were at dinner parties, like I was something he couldn't help but reach for. The way he'd lean in to whisper things that made my knees wobble, even with a house full of guests. I used to lie beside him in bed and feel like I was next to fire. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, that fire dimmed. Not all at once. That's the cruelest part, how it vanishes in degrees. 1,000 small changes that don't register until you're freezing. The kisses turned into pecks. The cuddles into convenience. His hands used to linger on my hips like he had all the time in the world. Now they rest there like he's holding a shopping bag. It's not that he doesn't care. He does. In that practical, dependable, emotionally low-maintenance way that people think is romantic longevity. He pays the bills on time. He fixes the dishwasher before I even notice it's broken. He remembers to bring home my favorite yogurt. But there's a kind of intimacy that goes deeper than chores and calendars. It's knowing how I feel when I step out of the shower and catch myself in the mirror. It's hearing the way my voice softens when I talk about something I've lost. It's reaching for me, not because it's expected, but because he can't not. That kind of closeness is gone. And I don't even know when I stopped reaching for it too. We still touch, technically. A hug before work that feels more like a checkbox. His lips brush my cheek with a distracted love you as he scrolls his phone. I crave touch that means something. But I've learned not to ask for what makes him uncomfortable. Because nothing kills desire faster than begging for it. The worst part is, I didn't even realize I'd disappeared until last month. It was a Thursday. Rain tapping against the windows, the kind of late afternoon that makes you crave something warm and close. I had just come home from the market and was unpacking groceries when I heard the doorbell. It was Evan, my neighbor's son. 17, lanky, thoughtful. The kind of kid who looks adults in the eye and actually listens. He asked if he could come in for a minute. Said his mom wasn't home and he needed to talk to someone. There was nothing strange about it at first. He'd helped us shovel snow that winter. I'd made him hot cocoa. We had a friendly, familiar rhythm. But as he sat at my kitchen table, damp hoodie clinging to him, his expression serious and searching, he asked me something that no one had asked in years. Claire, are you happy? Just like that. No warning. No pretense. Like he could see something in me that had been hidden under layers of practiced smiles. And in that moment, I felt something shift. Not because of Evan. Not in the way you might think. But because I suddenly realized I didn't have an answer. Or worse. I did. And it scared the hell out of me. That was the moment everything changed. Not because of a kiss or a fight or a dramatic confession. But because someone looked me in the eye and reminded me that I used to feel. And I couldn't pretend anymore. Josh is a high school math teacher, methodical, reliable, even-tempered. He keeps his socks in color order and sets alarms for everything, including watering the plants. He teaches calculus with the same calm authority he uses at home, rarely raising his voice, rarely rattled. I used to love that about him. How solid he was. In a world that shifts constantly, Josh felt like gravity. But gravity, I've learned, can also pin you in place. That weekend after Evan's question, "Are you happy?" something inside me wouldn't settle. It wasn't what he said. It was the fact that he noticed. That he asked. That he saw me. Josh and I had plans that night. His department was throwing a dinner for retiring staff, and I promised I'd go. I wore the navy wrap dress he once said made my eyes look like storms. He didn't notice. Just told me I looked nice while adjusting his tie in the hallway mirror. At dinner, he held my hand under the table. His thumb brushed lazy circles on my palm. It was the kind of touch that used to drive me wild, not overt, just enough to spark anticipation. But now, it felt confusing. Like he wanted to skip ahead to something physical, while I was still stuck somewhere emotional. When we got home, he kissed my neck in the kitchen while I was putting wine glasses in the sink. His hand slid over my waist. And for a moment, I let myself soften. Maybe I was just being dramatic. Maybe this was marriage, quiet and habitual. Maybe touch without tenderness was better than no touch at all. But then he whispered, "You've been tense lately, maybe we just need to reconnect tonight." That word. Reconnect. Like sex was the solution to what neither of us wanted to say out loud. I turned to face him. "Josh, do you think I've been tense? Or do you think I've been sad?" He blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, do you even know what's going on with me? Or are you just hoping sex will smooth over the silence?" That was too much. I saw it in his jaw, the way it set hard. He stepped back, hands up like I'd accused him of something unforgivable. "I'm trying, Claire. You act like I don't care, but I do. I'm here. I show up. I don't cheat. I come home every night. I try to touch you, and you pull away. I don't know how to win with you anymore." I felt my throat tighten. I don't want to be won, Josh. I want to be understood. Silence. Then he sighed, the kind of sigh that feels like a closed door. "You're asking for something I don't know how to give." That stung. Not because it was cruel, but because it was probably true. Josh has always believed in doing tasks, fixes, action. He doesn't understand that sometimes the deepest love lives in stillness, in listening without fixing, in noticing without being asked. The next morning, he made coffee and left my mug by the window, just the way I like it. 2 sugars, no cream. And I hated that I still appreciated it. I hated how my chest tightened when I saw it, because it reminded me that love isn't always enough when the language of love gets lost in translation. That night, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, brushing my hair, when he came up behind me and kissed my shoulder. "You're beautiful," he said softly. And I wanted to cry, because I couldn't feel it anymore. Because it felt like a script. Because part of me wanted to believe it, and part of me wondered if he even saw me at all, or just the version of me that didn't make things hard. Later, in the quiet, I found myself replaying Evan's voice in my head. "Are you happy?" And suddenly, I understood something I hadn't before. It wasn't just about happiness. It was about aliveness. And I was starving for it. It started happening more often, this quiet tightening in my chest every time Josh reached for me. It wasn't that I didn't want him. That would have been easier to understand. It was that I wanted to want him, and I couldn't. There's something cruel about that limbo. Like being hungry but unable to eat. We were folding laundry one night, side by side on the couch. The TV hummed in the background, but I wasn't watching. I was thinking about that question again. "Are you happy?" Josh picked up one of my bras, black lace, long forgotten in the back of a drawer, and grinned as he held it up. "Remember this one?" he said with a wink. You wore this on our anniversary in Chicago. That little restaurant with the balcony, I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. Yeah, I remember. He leaned over and kissed my shoulder, slow and deliberate. We should recreate that night sometime, he murmured, his hand grazing the curve of my thigh. Just the two of us. I froze, just for a second. Barely noticeable. But I felt it. That flicker of recoil. The instinct to guard instead of melt. He didn't notice. Or maybe he did, and just ignored it. His hand stayed there, heavy and expectant. Like a question I didn't want to answer. I stood up quickly, gathering the rest of the laundry into a basket. I'm gonna go start the dryer, I mumbled. Josh frowned. You okay? Yeah, I lied. Just tired. Later that week, it happened again. I was reaching for a wine glass in the kitchen when he came up behind me and slapped my butt playfully. Once, that would have made me giggle and toss a dish towel at his face. Now, I flinched, just slightly. Just enough. He noticed that time. Hey, he said carefully, what was that? What was what? I replied, avoiding his eyes. You flinched. I turned on the faucet and stared at the water. I didn't. Claire. His voice dropped. Gentle, but firm. Talk to me. I sighed and dried my hands, knowing I was about to say something that wouldn't land well. I don't always feel like being touched when it feels like a lead-in. You know? He stepped back. His brow furrowed. A lead-in to what? To sex, I said flatly. It always feels like we're walking toward that, even when I'm not ready. He looked genuinely confused. But I touch you because I love you. I want you. That's not a bad thing. I know, I said, quieter now. I know it's not. But sometimes I need something else first. Something slower. Like you want me for more than what comes after. Josh ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. Claire, I can't read your mind. You want affection, but not too much. You want intimacy, but not this kind. I'm trying here, but you're always just pulling away. I didn't answer. Because he wasn't wrong. But he wasn't right either. That night, we got into bed at the same time. A rare thing lately. He reached for me, brushing my hair back behind my ear. I miss you, he whispered. My heart ached. Because I missed me, too. He kissed me, tender at first. But I felt my body brace, waiting for the shift. The moment affection would become expectation. And it did. His hand slid beneath the sheet, tracing my hip. And even though part of me wanted to respond, wanted to fall into him and pretend everything was okay, I couldn't. I felt nothing. Or worse, pressure. Obligation. I turned on my side. I'm sorry, I whispered into the pillow. He didn't say anything. Just rolled over. And I lay there in the dark, listening to the soft hum of our broken connection, one thought repeating in my mind like a pulse, why does everything have to turn into sex? It happened on a Sunday. Josh had planned dinner at home, candles, jazz playing low on the Bluetooth speaker, steak sizzling on the cast iron like we were still a couple who flirted over food. It was thoughtful. Sweet, even. But I felt the pressure hanging over everything like steam from the oven. This wasn't just dinner. It was a setup, a hope that maybe tonight I'd finally snap back into the woman I used to be. The one who laughed at his jokes and reached for his hand across the table. The one who still felt wanted when she was touched. He handed me a glass of wine, and I smiled out of habit. I even leaned in when he kissed my cheek. But inside, I was already slipping under. We sat down, and he started talking, about school, about his colleague Mary retiring, about how weird it felt to be one of the older teachers now. I nodded. I asked questions. I swirled my wine like someone present. But I wasn't. Not really. Because all I could think about was how someone else's son had noticed I wasn't okay before my husband did. Claire? I looked up. Josh was frowning gently. You just completely spaced out. Sorry, I said. I didn't sleep well. He leaned forward. I miss you, you know? I thought maybe tonight would feel good. Reconnect us a little. There it was again. Reconnect. The word that felt more like repair. Something in me snapped. Josh, do you think dinner and a candle fixes this? My voice cracked, louder than I meant. He blinked. What do you mean this? This, I gestured vaguely. Us. The way I feel like I'm faking everything just to keep the peace. Like I'm some broken piece of furniture you keep polishing instead of asking why it's cracked. He sat back, his jaw tensing. Where is this coming from? I'm trying. I planned this for you. I'm here, Claire. What else do you want from me? I want you to see me, I said, my voice trembling. Not just touch me. Not just cook for me. Not just wait for me to be okay again. He pushed back from the table, the chair leg scraping the tile. You make me feel like everything I do is wrong. Because you're not listening. I was standing now, too. You think physical touch is the answer to every crack in our marriage, but it just makes me feel smaller. Like my body's a solution instead of a person. He stared at me, stunned. Hurt. So what? You don't love me anymore? I froze. I hadn't said that. But the silence between us suddenly felt too loud. He shook his head slowly, like I'd slapped him. You know what? I've been patient. I've waited for you to open up, and every time I try, you either shut me out or turn it into an attack. He turned away, walking to the sink, hands braced against the counter like he needed it to hold him up. And just like that, the storm collapsed inside me. The fire, the rage, it all melted into something softer. Worse. I sank back into the chair and covered my face with both hands. The tears came fast and quiet. I'm sorry, I whispered. I don't know why I'm like this. I don't know when I stopped feeling connected to everything. I just wake up and feel this weight, and I can't breathe through it anymore. Josh didn't answer right away. Then, you could have told me. I looked up, eyes rimmed red. Would you have heard me? He didn't move. And suddenly I was back in the kitchen with Evan. His eyes clear and earnest. Claire, are you happy? A question that cracked me open. Not because of who asked it. But because no one else had. I sat there, tears cooling on my cheeks, guilt blooming under my skin like bruises. He was trying. In his own way. But so was I. And it wasn't enough. Not for either of us. I hated myself in that moment, for yelling, for needing more than he could give, for not knowing how to fix what was broken. And still, the thought wouldn't let go of me as I stared at the untouched steak, at the wine glass with lipstick smudged at the rim. Why does everything have to turn into sex? 2 weeks passed. We still lived in the same house, but everything felt muted. The air between us had thickened, like fog that wouldn't lift. We moved around each other in the kitchen, passed condiments like coworkers, and fell asleep without touching. Our bedroom had become just a room again. A place for sleep, not sanctuary. Josh wasn't cruel. He didn't shut doors loudly or speak with sharpness. If anything, he became gentler in the aftermath of that night. Too gentle. Like he was afraid of pushing too hard, saying too much, doing something that would break what was left between us. that, somehow, was worse than a fight. One morning, I watched him through the crack in the bathroom door as he shaved. He used to sing quietly under his breath, off-key, always the same song. Now, he was silent. His movements precise, robotic. He looked tired. It hit me then that I wasn't the only one grieving something. He was losing me too. And I had no idea how to give him the version of me he missed. Every time I thought about reaching for his hand or sitting closer on the couch, shame burned under my skin. Like I didn't deserve tenderness after what I'd said. What could I say? I miss you? You scare me because you're trying and it still doesn't feel like enough? Or the worst truth of all, I don't know how to come back to you. I started waking up earlier than usual just to avoid our morning routine. I'd sit by the window with coffee and pretend to scroll my phone, listening for the creak of the floorboards upstairs as he moved around the room we used to share. We barely touched. When we did, passing the remote, exchanging a grocery list, it felt like touching something hot. Instinct told me to pull away. And still, I missed him. One night, I found him sitting on the edge of the bed, staring down at the floor like he was trying to remember something important. I stood in the doorway, unseen. He was still wearing the t-shirt I bought him last Christmas, the one with the faded mountain print he said reminded him of our trip to Oregon. His shoulders were slumped, hands clasped between his knees, his wedding band catching the lamplight. I wanted to go to him. Wrap my arms around his back and bury my face in his spine. Say, I'm scared too. But I didn't move. Because what if he turned around and looked through me the way I'd looked through him for months? What if he wanted me back, but not like this? Later that night, I lay awake long after he started snoring softly beside me. My eyes traced the cracks in the ceiling, the shadows from the fan spinning slow and steady overhead. I thought about Evan's question again. Are you happy? I wasn't. But I wasn't sure leaving would make me any happier. I had blamed Josh for not seeing me, not hearing me, but I had built my own walls too. I'd let silence fill in the blanks between us, convinced myself that if he didn't ask, it meant he didn't care. That wasn't fair. He had his own grief. His own losses. And maybe, just maybe, the pain wasn't proof that we were broken, but that we still cared enough for it to hurt. I turned onto my side and watched the curve of his back under the blanket. And I whispered, so low even I could barely hear it, maybe. I want to try again. Josh was already at the kitchen table when I came down the next morning. He was drinking coffee, reading the same section of the newspaper he always did, the local crime report, small-town drama in print. The scene was so normal, so us, that I almost turned around and retreated upstairs. But something in me held still. I walked in and sat across from him. He didn't look up right away. Then he did. There were bags under his eyes. His smile was soft, tired, and real. Morning. Morning, I echoed. We sat in silence for a minute. The paper crinkled as he folded it and pushed it aside. Then, without warning, he said, "Do you still love me, Claire?" My breath caught. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because hearing the question aloud made it feel suddenly, terrifyingly real. Yes, I said quietly. But I think I forgot how to show it, or feel it. Or both. Josh looked down, nodding once like he'd been preparing for that answer, whether he wanted it or not. I didn't know you were hurting that bad. I guess I thought if I kept showing up, that would be enough. I swallowed. I needed you to ask. To dig deeper. But maybe I should have spoken up before it got so distant. He nodded again, then reached across the table. Not to hold my hand, just to rest his fingers near mine. Close. Not forcing it. Not expecting anything. Just there. It was the first time in weeks I didn't pull away. I think I got scared, he said after a long pause. That if I asked what was wrong, you'd finally say it out loud, and it'd be something I couldn't fix. His voice cracked just slightly at the word fix. I blinked back tears. I don't want fixing, I whispered. I just want to feel safe again. With you. Inside me. He didn't answer, but I saw it in his face, that quiet heartbreak that comes with finally understanding what someone's been trying to say. Later, when I passed him the laundry basket and our hands touched, he didn't let go right away. And that night, as we both lay in bed, still separated by inches but not miles, he rolled toward me and pressed a kiss to my forehead. A kiss that asked nothing of me. A kiss that felt like a beginning. We didn't say anything else. We just breathed, in the dark, next to each other. And it wasn't perfect. It wasn't a grand reconciliation or a passionate rediscovery. It was small. Quiet. But it was something. If you had told me a year ago that a 17-year-old boy would ask the question that changed everything for me, I would have laughed. Or been mildly horrified. But that's exactly what happened. It was so simple, just 8 words. Claire, are you happy? And for some reason, that question cut deeper than anything my husband had said in years. Maybe it was because Evan had no agenda. No fear of the answer. Just honest curiosity. A willingness to sit with whatever truth surfaced. I don't think he meant to shake me. But he did. Because until that moment, I'd been operating on autopilot. Performing the part of the dependable wife. The stable adult. The woman who didn't need passion, or to be seen, or to feel completely known, because that kind of longing was selfish, right? But when he asked me if I was happy, I had no idea how to answer. And that terrified me. I've spent so much of my life trying not to be a burden. Trying to be easy. Low maintenance. I thought if I didn't ask for too much, if I just stayed quiet, helpful, accommodating, then I'd be lovable. I confused being loved with being good at love. And somewhere in that equation, I disappeared. It wasn't Josh's fault entirely. He did what many people do, he tried to love me in the way he knew how. Through presence, through provision, through touch. And for a long time, that was enough. But intimacy isn't just about showing up. It's about showing in. About noticing the way someone's eyes dull over dinner, or how they haven't laughed in days. It's about asking the scary questions, and sitting with the answers, even when they hurt. I used to think sex would save us. Or affection. Or a well-planned anniversary dinner. Now I know those things are surface-level symptoms of a much deeper connection, or lack of it. Desire isn't just physical. It's about feeling chosen. Known. Like someone sees you when you're not performing. Like someone remembers who you were before the world wore you down. Josh and I are trying. Slowly. Gently. We've stopped expecting big gestures to heal what went quiet. Now we talk more. Or we try to. We ask hard questions and sit in the discomfort. And sometimes that's enough for the day. Other times, it isn't. And that's okay. Because I'm finally learning how to be honest with myself. I'm learning that guilt is not a requirement for needing more. That longing isn't something to be ashamed of. I don't know what the future looks like for us. I don't think anyone really does, even when they pretend otherwise. But I do know this, happiness isn't something that arrives fully formed. It's a decision you make to turn toward yourself, and ask what you've been avoiding. Sometimes, that means opening your mouth and saying, I'm not okay. Sometimes, it means pulling away to come back stronger. And sometimes, it means letting someone see the parts of you you've been hiding, even from yourself. So if you're listening, really listening, ask yourself the question no one else is asking, are you happy? And if the answer scares you, good. It means you're waking up.